So one thing you need to talk about is why don't we build more pipelines, which really I think long-term, well, part of the problem is we are, I think that probably is a safer, faster, cheaper method of transporting out of soil, which will be transported.
Oh, I knew it was going to say.
It's going to be transported. We are not, let's face it, there's abundance still of fossil fuels, coal and oil. It's going to be used. The only question is who's going to use it and when. Now, we can all sit back and go, no, we all want renewable energy. Well, we can't power an economy. If you want to manufacture things, you have to have power. And you're better off with cheaper power than more expensive power. Because if we penalize ourselves, if we do a self-inflicted wound, something like a cap and trade proposal, which Candidate Obama said would cause electricity rates to skyrocket, or like his energy secretary said, somehow we got to figure out how to get our gasoline prices up to the levels of Europe. Back when we were $2 a gallon, and Europe was $8. I mean, I just don't think that's a very smart thing for us to do, because the fossil fuels will be burned by countries that don't have the affluence to provide the environmental controls that we have here in America. Now life's not perfect, but again, from my standpoint, we'd be better off building more pipelines to transport most of this oil that way. I have no problem in looking at standards of the actual tanker cars. I have no problem with that. Listen, regulation is important. We saw with South Korea with that ferry. I think there were regulations in the ferry company. I don't know all the details, but it sure sounded like they were violating them. Okay, and as a result, people died. So I am all for common sense regulations, but it gets to a point where they get too onerous, they get ridiculous, they're not common sense, and there's a point of diminishing return on some of these things. And so, all I'm asking people is to recognize the reality of the situation. We're going to be a fossil fuel economy for a long period of time. We just are. We don't have economic alternatives. Wind, you need 100% backup. It's not a very good alternative, not yet. At some point in time, I've got a great deal of faith in our economic system and innovation, and as those fossil fuel supplies dwindle over, I don't know how long it's going to take, decades, maybe centuries, because we keep finding more. I think the marketplace, I think science and technology will come to grips with that. But right now, from my standpoint, the best alternative with known technology is nuclear. We're not building nuclear. We've shut down Yucca Mountain in terms of a nuclear waste depository site. We're basically handicapping us. The environmental left just doesn't want power. They hate other than, I suppose, hydroelectric, but there aren't that many waterfalls. They're kind of souring on wind because it's killing birds. They don't like the ugly solar panels in the desert. You don't want to transport oil. What are we going to do? If we can penalize ourselves. The rest of the world's going to continue to develop. And they're going to require power. They're going to require a whole lot more of it, because as their populations become more affluent, they're going to be demanding power. They actually like to live like Americans. They all like to have their own cars. 7 billion people. A pretty small percentage of those things, pretty small percentage of people in the world live as well as we do, consume as much power. That's going to start accelerating around the rest of the world. So we're going to have to come to grips with how we utilize energy resources as environmentally friendly as possible, and then let the marketplace determine the next technology, not government, because we're very, very bad allocators of capital. Yep.